Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister. I was surprised to see the government vote in favor of my motion to ban double dipping. That was a motion to prevent government employees from doubling as outside contractors. Pleasantly surprised. Will the government now implement this motion and finally ban double dipping?
Thank you to my honourable colleague for bringing forward that motion. And as you know, we are continuously looking at how to inject more discipline into the system. That's why I introduced the revised directive on conflict of interest, which directly addresses the point that my honourable colleague is making, as well as the horizontal audit and
okay, Minister. Sorry, just to jump in though. My question is specific. It's about a motion that you voted for in the House of Commons, as did your colleagues. That motion wasn't to reaffirm these various other policies. It was to ban, outright and completely ban, the practice of double dipping. Is it the intention of the government to follow through on the unanimous vote of the House of Commons and ban outright double dipping, which I think you'll acknowledge goes further than these existing policies?
Well, again, thank my honourable colleague for bringing forward the motion and for voting in favour of it. We, as I said, are continually looking at how we can improve the directive on conflict of interest. We've revised it already this year, and we're looking at further ways we can strengthen the
So can I infer from
policy.
that a decision hasn't been made yet on whether to actually implement this motion? Because if you're continually looking at that, sounds like you're saying we might, but we haven't decided yet.
As I said, I'm very committed to ensuring that we have stringent rules in place relating to the directive on conflict of interest, and with other ministers, we'll continually look at how that can be strengthened and improved.
Okay, I don't think we got a clear answer, and I would have thought that you could simply affirm that you would implement the motion that you voted in favor of and the House voted unanimously in favor of. I hope we will still see a ban on double dipping, but it seems like there's not a clear commitment to do that. My next question is, the company started by Randy Boissonneau, GHI, has been suspended from getting government contracts. We think they should be banned permanently. Can you update us as to why they were suspended and whether the government is going to ban them completely?
So this would be a question for Minister Duclos at PSPC more than me, given that he has purview over government contracting. But I will say that the individual in question has, I understand, agreed to come to committee to answer questions, and I believe that question could be posed to him. In addition,
is the individual in question Randy?
I believe that individual will be coming to committee.
Okay.
And in terms of the banning of contracts, which was the heart of your question, I will take that question back to Minister Duclos. But
right. I would love to see Randy at committee, by the way. One final question I want to get in the time we have. Indigenous leaders have repeatedly told this committee that Indigenous identity fraud is rampant in government, and that the proportion of real Indigenous businesses getting contracts isn't 5%, that it's closer to 1%. So how many businesses have been denied contracts or faced consequences for Indigenous identity fraud?
Well, I would agree that identity fraud is painful and harmful. And in terms of the numbers relating to companies denied contracts because they're not on the list, I don't have that information.
If I could, Mr. Chair, I can give that.
I want to clarify, though, not because they're not on the list, because of Indigenous identity fraud. So that could be companies that misrepresented themselves in order to get onto the list, or who claim to be Indigenous businesses when they are not. We have, I think, over 1,000 businesses have been taken off that list. There may be various reasons, but one of them could be Indigenous identity fraud. So, but how many businesses have faced consequences or been denied contracts for Indigenous identity fraud?
I'll give you a partial answer, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, partial answer. ISC, the department responsible for the actual list, does pre-contract audits as well as post. Latest information I have is they have done 14 audits in terms of pre-award audits. 2 have been found non-compliant. And there are 16 other audits, post-award audits, that are underway. No results yet.
Okay, so that's not really an answer about consequences, but 2 out of 14 companies that were audited are found non-compliant. That's That's not as high a proportion as we're hearing from Indigenous leaders, but that's still fairly significant. 2 out of 14. Have there been any consequences for those two?
I'm afraid that is our time.
Can we get a follow-up in writing then? Have there been any consequences for those two? I suspect there haven't been, frankly. But
Perfect. We'll go to